And what are they doing to address those concerns? Well, Biden gave a big speech last night on democracy. And, you know, to tie this back to our previous segment with the More Perfect Union video, Faz Shakir, who was Bernie's campaign manager and who's now running More Perfect Union, he actually went on TV and was like, before the speech, he was like, I think they need to go back and rewrite it and talk about the cost of living and how you're going to address their concerns. They didn't take his advice. So here's a little taste of one more time. We're going to try to persuade voters that democracy is the thing that they should be voting on and nothing else. Take a listen.
The assailant tried to take Paul hostage. He woke him up. He wanted to tie him up. The assailant ended up using a hammer to smash Paul's skull. Thankfully, by the grace of God, Paul survived. All this happened after the assault, and it's hard to even say. It's hard to even say. After the assailant entered the home asking, where's Nancy? Where's Nancy? Those are the very same words used by the mob when they stormed the United States Capitol on January the 6th.
So I had the team pull that particular soundbite because with the Paul Pelosi tie-in, it was at least a little bit different than what Democrats have been saying. But if you go and listen to the speech, which wasn't actually that long, but you don't really need to listen to it, it's the same rhetoric. And I hate to sound callous about this because I actually really do care about the future of democracy and about people having a voice, which they don't feel like they have right now, which I think if you listen to voters, you will find out like they already feel like they don't really have much say in our great democracy. But you know, if you care about this election, if this election is existential, if there are massive, I think the majority of Republicans on the ballot in this election are election deniers, that is all true, then the best thing you could be doing is trying to persuade voters to vote for you by focusing on the issues that they're telling you they care about the most. I mean, what is it, like 3% of voters that say that January 6th is their number one issue? And yet, I just really can't wrap my head around it in terms of a strategy here. This is your final pitch. He built this as like this big speech. All the networks took it. You know, this was clearly like the final pitch they wanted to make. And I'm not saying that, you know, Republican extremism on this issue hasn't hurt them some and given Democrats somewhat of a chance, but you gotta close on how you're gonna deliver for people on the number one issue they care about. And instead it's just like, let's talk about January 6th. Maybe if we say January 6th 10 more times, maybe finally people are gonna listen to us.
Well, it's very hollow. You know, Josh Barro actually said this well. He says, if voters reject Democrats' agenda on their record on issues including inflation, crime, immigration, or abortion, they have no recourse at the ballot box. They simply must vote for Democrats anyway, is the message, at least until at such time as the Republican Party is run by the likes of Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. This actually amounts to telling voters they have already lost their democracy. Well, what does that mean? And then also, whenever you make the point that democracy is on the ballot and then you lose, what are you saying? Are you saying that democracy is over, or is it democracy in action? Is it capital D democracy, the idea, or small d democracy, the actual practice?
Well, this is the thing that I'm trying to say, which is like, part of democracy is being responsive to voters, right? Not just capitulating to, but being somewhat responsive to what the people are telling you they care about. So you have voters in our democracy saying, I am being hurt by inflation. I think we're in a recession. I am concerned about this. And it is kind of anti-democratic to be like, you're wrong. That's not the right issue to care about. That's what is driving me so insane about all of this. You know, maybe even if Democrats did all the right things in terms of this election and, you know, leaned into the messaging that Stan Greenberg has been encouraging, the child tax credits and taxing the rich and like offered a real material program, convinced people that there was something to gain by voting for Democrats once again, maybe they would still lose just because of history and the economic wins and whatever. But I'm telling you, Republicans gave them every chance to be able to succeed. They have like shot themselves in the foot 15 different ways with terrible, extreme, crazy ass candidates, terrible, extreme, crazy ass economic plans. And instead, they've just said, you know what, we're going to go 90% on abortion, 10% on democracy, and you can just guess what the economic plan is. And if you're not happy in the current economy, then I guess you're going to pretty much expect that things are going to continue in this direction. It is absolutely maddening that they're so foolish. But I mean, ultimately, it's really not foolish. Like, there's a reason why they don't like to lean into this type of politics, because if you make promises on, you know, some sort of economic program, then you actually have some accountability and some need to deliver, just like Biden was forced into doing the checks, forced into doing the student loan debt relief that he didn't really want to do. If you make really specific, concrete material promises, you have to follow through on, and they don't really want to do that.
Correct. They don't, absolutely don't. You know, in many ways, I almost think that the Democrats could learn something from the Republicans. Many Republicans do want to cut Medicare and Social Security.
Yeah.
They talk about it, but they don't actually talk about it that much. And when they make their pitch, they don't make that the pitch.
Yeah.
They make the pitch
they know it's
screw Joe
unpopular.
Biden. Correct. But even though, so this is what, listen, if you have a secondary or tertiary political goal relative to the voters' preferences, it is political malpractice to lead with that tertiary political goal. Instead, you should lean with whatever's going to get you votes, and then when you're in office, you could do whatever you want. You could do that thing, and then you can also do this slightly more unpopular thing, and, you know, who knows? As we're all learning here throughout this election, sometimes it doesn't matter if you have one tertiary political position, which is quite unpopular, as long as you do the top two political things at the top. So anyway, the whole point is that if you believe that democracy hinges on you staying in office, then you should do everything humanly possible to stay in office.
To win, right.
And, you know, this just fundamentally, I guess, is the disagreement that I have with a lot of people whenever, you know, they run, which is that I actually believe much more in the voters. I think that they know exactly what the problems are. They have a far better diagnosis of what's actually going on here relative to how you should tell them how to think. I mean, look, I have many positions which I know are not popular, and I would never presume to tell people that they should care about. I'll tell you why. I think I care about them, but I would never say that your grocery bill is less important than whatever I'm going to tell you that it is, because it is not my place, nor should it ever be, even for a politician, for somebody who's in office. If anything, it should always be the opposite.
It just reminds me of, remember the Mueller report came out?
Yeah, I do.
And it was like, maybe if we do it in graphic novel form, then people are going to care about it and see it the way we see it. And it just feels like that with this speech as well. It's like, maybe if we do it in a primetime speech a little bit before midterm elections and we tie in Paul, but maybe this time this will be the thing that actually galvanizes people. And it's like, listen, guys, I agree it's important. I'm not trying to downplay it, but you have really clear indicators of what people are basing their vote on at this point, and you just continue to willfully ignore it. So ultimately,
good luck.
Good luck. We're going to see if it works, if the democracy final pitch works out for you very, very soon. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.